and gets kicked out of her rental home before she ever gets to spend a single night there. That's the most recent of many horror stories we hear about landlords here at News Channel 9. Calvin, tell us more.
Latricia, the biggest question we get is, can my landlord do that? The relationship between tenant and landlord is governed by state law and the lease signed by the renter. My best advice in a landlord-tenant dispute is 4 little words: get it in writing. Marvina Bax had not even moved into her rent-to-own home yet.
We were ready to go and we got here and the place wasn't ready. They were still working on it.
Still, she paid the landlord $2,000 and he allowed her to move her furniture in anyway. A few days passed and Mrs. Bax did not like the way the work was progressing. And the landlord was frustrated because she kept adding repairs. That disagreement drove a wedge between the two, which got so bad.
He said, if you step on the property, I'm going to call the police. I've told the neighbors that no one's out on the property.
No written agreement, meaning lease, was ever signed. But the landlord had Mrs. Bax's belongings and would not give them back. She took him to court under Tennessee's uniform landlord-tenant law. So can your landlord do that? Hold your property if there's a dispute? Ben Danford with Legal Aid of East Tennessee says no.
It does not sound like the landlord followed the specific process that he's obligated to follow.
Mrs. Bax won her case against the landlord, but it was a good thing it was in Hamilton County. This is the Tennessee-Georgia state line. It's also the county line between Bradley County and Polk County. Here in Georgia, there are landlord-tenant laws that protect all of the counties and all of the residents in all of those counties in the state of Georgia. Across the county line into Tennessee, in Bradley County and Hamilton County, there are also landlord-tenant laws. Across the county line into Polk County and the surrounding 8 counties, there are no landlord-tenant laws at all. Tennessee's Uniform Landlord-Tenant Act only applies in the 18 counties with a population of at least 75,000. Now, if you live in one of the other counties,
the problem is that they just don't have the same rights that that tenants in the counties where the act applies have.
So the question, can my landlord do that, may come down to where you live. Here are a few other answers for those who live in the counties covered by the act. Can my landlord make me pay for electrical and plumbing repairs? No, if the tenant is not at fault. Does my landlord have to provide heating? Yes. What about the payment of utility bills?
The bills can be addressed or handled in some fashion that's agreeable to the parties when they enter into the lease.
What about a lease? Is that required? No, but I get lots of calls from people in disputes with their landlords only to discover they do not have a lease. As Marvina Bax painfully discovered, you're just asking for trouble.
Get everything in writing. That doesn't even mean anything, but don't go on trust. A handshake doesn't really mean anything if you're looking to protect yourself in the future.
Unfortunately, even though she got a judgment, in civil court, it's up to the winner to enforce the judge's order. So far, Mrs. Bax is still missing some of her property and all of the $2,000 she paid out. Patricia.
If you rent in at least Hamilton and Bradley counties, it's important to know your rights. This brochure from the Legal Aid of East Tennessee explains the questions we answered tonight and many others. You can get this brochure at the Legal Aid offices in downtown Chattanooga and in